Hello and thank you for joining us. I am OLED and I am joined by the one and only Chris Parrish and Chris Best, the co-host of Turnbuckle Talk, and also the co-host of Raw Watch Along with both Parrish and Chris Best. You guys just watched the show. Tell me, what did you guys think of the show?
I thought it was great. A really great show from start to finish. I think the only match that I think you're probably a little disappointed on was that finish for that World Heavyweights title match, but it is starting something new off and starting something. So, all in all, I thought it was a great match start to finish.
Before we get... Oh, sorry, Chris Best, you're going to say something else.
Yeah, I thought the show, too, was amazing. It was filled with a lot of twists and turns that I really liked about the show. And again, as Parrish said, I found with the exception of the World Heavyweight title match, that finish was just slightly underwhelming for me.
Yeah, and also I want to go ahead and shout out in the comments, Tom Collahue, thank you, good sir, for rating us after your Raw Watch Along. You don't do Raw Watch Alongs, we do Raw Watch Along. You do premium live event watch alongs, so thank you for joining us. We have Daz Reynolds, who was sent in by Tom. We have Tom Collahue himself here. We have Callie asking if this is where the press conference is. No, but I'm sure people in the chat are going to be keeping an eye on it. I know Astrid typically does. Parrish typically does too as well. But as Astrid says
I've got the conference on in my background too.
And there we go. Chris Best has got it on in his background. That's going to be on the WWE YouTube channel for those who do want it. We have the voice saying Parrish had a fantastic watch long. I was there in the beginning. Things got busy over here and I missed out on some of that. But I do know that the four of you guys had a fantastic watch along with PLE watch along with Mark Talks Wrestling, Mark Talks and Plays, however you want to talk about him, and the Lounge also joined in for a period of time during the show.
Yeah, we had a surprise fourth, and we also had Josh not being able to get there, but that is okay.
Yeah, as always, next time. We got AJ Smith thanking Tom Collahue for his stream. It's greatly appreciated. Cy, one of my fellow moderators on the Tom Collahue, says, great show. The crowd made it special. The UK crowd is so good and so awful at the same time. For my negative thoughts on the UK crowd, check the pre-show that we did last night for the prediction show where I went on a bit of a rant about the UK crowds and what I think of them sometimes. But
the question is, Ed, when don't you go on a rant?
I mean,
don't poke the bear, Chris. Don't poke the bear.
But
no, I love when he rants.
I do too. No, it's fine. Sigh. The UK crowd is fantastic. I'm just not a fan of the sing-song. When I go to my wrestling show, I want wrestling chants, and I want, things like that. I don't need a sing-song. If I want to do that, I'll go to the pub. This is why we call him Old Ranty. Rant. No, we're not going to rant tonight. We had a fun show. They made interesting and exciting things happen. And we're going to start where WWE started. That men's Money in the Bank ladder match was fantastic.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, from the moment of the word go, when you had all of... You guys have spoken about this on the watch-alongs, but I'm going to go ahead and take a little bit here. The moment from the word go, with Logan Paul in the middle of the ring as the last entrant, and you had all 6 professional wrestlers behind him, just looking at him and being like, we're going to take you out. And every opportunity Logan had to go up there, somebody gave him a shot. That man earned his ring cred tonight. As Parrish knows, sometimes as a young wrestler, you earn it in the ring sometimes. We all saw what happened to Daniel Puder when he was in that Royal Rumble, and that was a bad sign of it. Tonight was a good sign of it, where Logan Paul earned some stripes tonight from a lot of these veteran, talented people who made him look fantastic in this match, because he was never out of position. Now granted, there was a couple times referees were cueing him on the positions, but I think he was my star of this match because he was constantly in the right position to be in the right spot.
Yeah, and before I even get my thing out, we know, Ed, you're not going to rant, perhaps, but we do want to let people know that you are able to hit that thumbs up button if you're watching on the YouTube side, and hit that notification bell to let us know that you're awaiting our next shows and upcoming shows as well. But yeah, this match was just fantastic. Just an absolute fireball from beginning to end. Logan Paul was awesome. I thought LA Knight was absolutely amazing on everything he did. I thought Butch stood out for me. Like he was my standout of this match. Him and Santos Escobar definitely made people take aware of who they are. And just like I kind of thought, LA Knight, even though he's the crowd-on favorite, and boy, nobody even questioned that popularity, I was very, very happy for what they did. But Ricochet, man, that guy stole the show on the spots tonight, if you ask me.
I mean, Chris, if you want to go ahead and take upon that.
Yeah, I'm with Parrish on that too, and I'm with you, Ed, as well. Logan Paul was just fantastic. That whole when everybody just started beating him in the ring, that was very reminiscent of when Muhammad Hassan got into the ring at the 2005 Rumble, and everybody just stopped what they were doing and beat him up. And you could see that look. He's like, I'm God, I'm Jesus. And oh crap, they're gonna kick the crap out of me right now. And I called it for weeks on end that he was going to be put in there for that big spot, and he got that big spot with Ricochet. So I feel like this is going to lead to a match between the two of them. I don't know where, I don't know when, but I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, this is the second tease we've got of Ricochet versus Logan Paul. As Parrish mentioned yesterday in the prediction show, we talked about the spot from the Rumble, where they both jumped off the ropes, and we thought that they might do that again. And they kind of did, with both of them jumping onto respective ladders. But that spot was just so incredible. Ricochet, while falling, still managing to get enough spring with him and Logan to safely, as bad as it looked, to safely hit that Spanish fly through a table. I mean, Ricochet's head's going to be a little bit wrung tonight. Samantha's going to have to drive home. But my God, that spot was incredible. And we have Senor Money in the Bank with Damian Priest. Is there anything else that anybody wants to add about this ladder match?
Just everything in that match just blew me away. Everybody. It showcased what Hunter wants for his main event stars.
Yeah.
Or who's going to be possibly his main event guys.
It was such a wrestling match. Like, it was just fun, and it was a little bit of spots, but there was points to everything people were doing. It wasn't just, ladder spot, table spot, ladder spot. It was bits of wrestling. Everything seemed to make sense. Having LA Knight right there, grabbing it, having his fingers to clasp the thing before Priest goozles him to end the match. Such a fantastic finish. It gives LA Knight everything he needed. Go ahead.
I felt like there was a lot of urgency and importance on the briefcase itself in that match.
Yeah. Unlike the ladies match, which we'll get to, but there's a couple spots in the ladies match where I felt like the briefcase was an afterthought. There was a lot of good in here. On a surprise of the night, Shayna Baszler versus Ronda Rousey is coming, because we had Shayna Baszler and Ronda Rousey versus Raquel Rodrigues and Liv Morgan. Chris Best, we'll go ahead and start with you on your thoughts about this match.
I was kind of bored by the whole match of itself, but that turn towards the end, that made me go, wow. And I was just like, whoa, got to see what the hell's going on here. Because for a quick second, when I looked at the screen, I thought it was Raquel Rodrigues beating on Ronda. Then I'm like, oh, wait, green. Nope, that's Shayna Baszler. What the hell is going on here?
Yeah. Parrish? I think you're muted, good sir.
Well, that's exactly what I was saying. I'm muted right now. I can't speak. But now that I'm not muted, I was just saying, what we were saying last night, we 100% thought that we were going to see a turn. But not one of us expected it to be on the heel side. I don't think anybody expected the titles to change hands. And because of that, it was such a welcoming surprise. We heard the crowd chant Shayna Baszler throughout this match. the crowd was very behind Shayna Baszler. And the fact that Shayna was the one who then turned on Ronda Rousey, just absolute chef's kiss. They got me to care about what Ronda Rousey was doing in that. And now I really am curious to see what is in next, or what stores next for Ronda and Shayna. But at the same time, now I can see these women's tag team championships get used in the right way with people that we want to see defending them.
Ashley Pizarro says, brilliant, I agree. My favorite thing about this is now if they decide to bring these tag titles to NXT, we have people who I don't mind covering on a weekly basis on NXT, because I really didn't want to have to cover Ronda Rousey on a weekly basis coming down to NXT to defend these titles. But I'm so down for Shayna Baszler versus Ronda Rousey, because Shayna Baszler has always been just a step away from her potential on the main roster. And I think this is the feud that puts her into the stratosphere of the Charlotte Flairs and the Asukas and the Io Skies and everybody else, Bianca Belair on that SmackDown side. This is what's going to put her in that
conversation.
Yeah, where she belongs, where she's always belonged, but because of booking, she's never really been there. And now we're going to get that. Paris said it right. We talked about the turn. We talked about, will it be Liv? Will it be Raquel? I never in a million years would have thought Shayna Baszler. But thank you, WWE, for surprising me. Because every now and then we talk about how predictable these things are. And predictability isn't always bad. And this whole card was relatively predictable. But you know what? They were all really fun matches to watch for the most part. I really enjoyed it. And sometimes predictability can be good. But they swerved us, bro. In the famous words of Vince Russo.
Just when you thought you knew the answers, they go ahead and change the question.
Yeah,
they caught me. They got me good, and I loved it.
We then get the Intercontinental Championship match between Gunther and Matt Riddle. And Parrish, I want to let you go ahead and talk about this because I know you were excited last night when we talked about it.
Bro. No, I mean, this is exactly what we thought it was going to be. We didn't expect Riddle to win. I love the use of the submission. I thought Gunther did a great job isolating the foot, just isolating the body part and really making this a traditional match. And I think I just love that. The purity of the performance out of Gunther is just so welcoming. And then not only that, we finally got somebody at the end of this match, at the after part of this match, we saw returning Drew McIntyre to really give Gunther a true, real competitor since probably Sheamus. And the last time we saw Drew was in that triple threat with Gunther, but never one-on-one. I thought it was great. I thought it was a great way to signalize the end of Riddle and Gunther, but I also thought it was a great way to make us want something next for the Intercontinental Championship.
Chris, you as well?
Yeah, so I've always been a fan of Gunther. I'm a fan of the European style of wrestling, so I just get excited every time I see him. And him and Riddle, I kind of did not expect it to be as good a match as it was chemistry-wise. Parrish, you're right with him working the foot the whole match, just brilliant. And it was, for me, it was fairly obvious too that Gunther was going to walk away because I believe he's going to be the one that beats Honky Tonk Man's record.
Seems like it, but I mean, Drew McIntyre is going to put a big chink in that. The thing I want to talk about is the spot where right at the end, how hard, Parrish, this is most of the question for you. How hard do you have to hit a foot that you hurt the foot so much that you can just grab it, yank it, and twist it? And Matt Riddle, somebody who's a UFC star, is instantly screaming in pain and tapping out.
Well, you have to look at kind of everything that goes behind that, too. It's a little bit easier to attack a foot at Matt Riddle. Why? Because he doesn't have the protection of a boot to help him out. It's a lot easier to not have your ankle twisted when you have something like that. Yeah, he did have it taped up, but that doesn't mean that you're completely preventing this either. And with the way that Gunther chops, the way that he hits you, yeah, if you have anything tweaked or anything wrong to begin with, that's just going to really get to it. And with Gunther's knowledge of understanding how to use submissions like that, I mean, that's dangerous in itself. And somebody like Matt Riddle, who has that MMA background, should know full well that if you are in the ring or the octagon or anything against somebody that has knowledge like that, you want to put yourself in positions not to be in the one that he ended up in.
Yeah. Everybody's thoughts on Drew McIntyre versus Gunther going forward. Chris Best, we'll start with you, sir.
I mean, I'm totally looking forward to it because their last match, even though it was a triple threat match with Sheamus involved, I'm just looking forward to a good European beatdown between the two of them.
Parrish?
Gunther, I still think will walk out on top, though.
There you go. Yeah, I agree. Parrish?
Yeah, and I think it's going to be good because we haven't seen a lot of people that are bigger than Gunther go up against Gunther yet for this Intercontinental title. A lot of the people are smaller in stature, so it is going to be nice to see somebody kind of tower over, not so much tower, but it's just bigger, right? It's kind of very similar to the visibility factor that we saw Brock Lesnar and Omos, right? Not a lot of people make Lesnar look small. Similar situation here, but also nobody takes the fight to Gunther as much as somebody like Drew McIntyre. You can throw maybe headlocks aside because there's going to be a lot of strikes. There's going to be a lot of bruised chests. There's going to be a lot of bruised egos. These guys are going to beat the crap out of each other, and that's exactly what you want to see between these two.
And I'm just hoping that Drew McIntyre is finally healthy because he's had some niggling injuries that have been keeping him on the sidelines or putting him in triple threat matches. I'll be happy to see what happens going forward to see if we can get him in this match, as, a one-on-one thing. We got the voice Joshua Joseph coming in saying there's a pressure point in your foot that will make you feel like Mike Tyson is uppercutting your balls. Good to know. I did not know that, but that's good to know. Ashley Brazzaro saying, love that Drew's return wasn't spoiled. Like, there had been rumors that Drew was coming back, but I don't think any of us who talked about it, especially me and Parrish, who talked last night about Drew's return, we didn't talk about it in terms of the Intercontinental Championship. We were talking about it in the same discussions we were talking about the World Championship, the World Heavyweight Championship.
I think a lot of people expected Drew McIntyre to come back as a heel, and he did not. So, as you just said earlier, with as we're talking about the turn with Shayna Baszler, the twists, the turns, and the not being predictable just is another constant here with WWE booking.
Now, before we go ahead and get to the Women's Money in the Bank match, we have a segment to discuss. It wasn't a segment that was on the schedule, but we're going to go ahead and talk about it. We had John Cena come out of absolute nowhere. He's not Randy Orton. He doesn't come out of nowhere, but he did. Mm-hmm. And he goes ahead and hypes up this UK crowd, talking about a WrestleMania in the UK. Before we get to what else happens in this, what are your guys' thoughts on how would you feel about an afternoon WrestleMania for the States and for Canada, with not having to be starting at 8 o'clock and having a Saturday and a Sunday afternoon WrestleMania, having it live from the UK in something like Wembley Stadium, where AEW is going to run All In a few weeks? What do you guys think about that? We'll start with you, Parrish.
Well, in October, I'm going to have a kid, so the fact that this is going to be an earlier time frame, I'm going to be up anyway. So, I mean, that's all fine with me. But no, I think doing it in the UK makes a lot of sense. I think having that WrestleMania there, if you want to have a show of all shows, the Showcase of the Immortals, one of the biggest, actually not even one of the biggest pro wrestling sports events out there, you can't just keep it in one country like the United States. You can't just keep it in North America. You have to spread it out. WWE is a global phenomenon, and because of that, you have to take these shows to the UK, to Japan, to Mexico, to Saudi Arabia, to Dominican Republic. You have to travel the world. WrestleMania in the UK, something they should have done a long time ago, if you ask me.
Chris Best, your thoughts on John Cena and the idea of a WrestleMania in the UK?
I mean, they've been angling for London's been trying to get WrestleMania for God knows how long. They deserve it, and to me, having an afternoon WrestleMania would just be a throwback to when I was a kid, when we used to get afternoon WrestleManias at 3-4 o'clock in the afternoon. Mm-hmm. So I'm all for it. I would love to see WrestleMania on another stage that's not in North America.
Do we think they've already made the decision that WrestleMania 41 is going to be in London, and this is the tease?
I think so.
It's not 41, 42.
Okay. Because I know we know 40's in Philly, and we're getting to that time period where we start thinking about where WrestleMania is the following year. We're about 18 months out. After we get John Cena talking about potentially having WrestleMania in the UK, out comes Grayson Waller, who was honestly a pleasant surprise for me, because honestly, John Cena was talking about how great the UK crowd is, and I'm just like, I'm enough of these sing-songs, John. We don't need to keep, Philly yuck, I agree. But, Cena's talking about, how great the UK, and they are. They're loud, they're boisterous, but out comes Grayson Waller and says, you know what? If we're going to have WrestleMania, we should have it somewhere where it's warm, where there's beaches, where there's pretty girls in bikinis and all this stuff. And he's like, we should have it in Australia. And that's interesting, because April WrestleMania in Australia is the end of the summer, if I'm not mistaken, correct?
Yep.
End of the summer, beginning of fall. So the weather will be better than it will be in the UK in April. And I'm like, ooh, that's an idea. Now, granted, that's a 6 a.m. WrestleMania on the East Coast, if they do an Australian WrestleMania. But I like the idea that they're teasing global shows, that they're teasing the idea that these bigger-than-life shows that are always stateside, that are always Canadian shows, might potentially be worldwide shows. It'll screw with our schedules if they start doing shows like this in Australia. But I'm down for it. And to have Grayson Waller in the ring with John Cena is just another level of greatness, because it keeps letting John Cena give the torch to these younger guys on the microphone. Especially a guy like Grayson Waller, who can go toe-to-toe and did go toe-to-toe with John Cena here. Now, granted, John Cena wasn't his A game. He wasn't trying to rip him apart. So, time will tell. But it made me think, hey, I'd like to see Grayson Waller versus John Cena at WrestleMania, at SummerSlam.
Yeah, and my thing is, maybe this is something that they're trying to foreshadow. They're trying to foreshadow long-term booking here. John Cena would know that, as they had him in a WrestleMania main event match 1 year prior to it actually happening. So if they are to go to a WrestleMania and they're foreshadowing Grayson Waller versus John Cena, I wouldn't be so shocked to think that this is going to happen at SummerSlam. I think if they're going to do this, you have it at that WrestleMania.
I mean, that's a long time coming, but I could be down for it. Any last thoughts on this segment from you, Mr. Chris Best?
As soon as I saw Grayson Waller walk out, I'm like, yep, they're building to something between him and Cena. There's going to be a match down the road. As Paris said, probably at SummerSlam, probably at WrestleMania. Could even be at the Royal Rumble. I'm all for it. I love Grayson Waller. And I would love to see WrestleMania on a worldwide stage like Australia as well. So,
and Parrish, before we move on, your thoughts?
Yeah, and I don't know. The reason why I don't think it's going to be SummerSlam is I have a strong feeling that after just watching SmackDown, we might be gearing towards a Grayson Waller LA Knight feud. So, but
see, I didn't watch SmackDown just yet, so.
But yeah, no, I mean, it's anytime you get John Cena now, you got to just be a little bit happy with, because you never know when it's going to be the last time. But also to see somebody like Grayson Waller getting that opportunity to mesh with John Cena, because the last time we saw somebody very young in Austin Theory. So I'm very happy they're mixing the future and the past / present now, and it's not so much using the nostalgia packs to get over. They're using the nostalgia packs or the past acts to help the future.
Yeah, and we just want to go ahead and thank everybody for joining us. And please, if you're on the YouTube side, remember to hit like, to hit subscribe, to hit the bell to know when we go live with all of our fun stuff. We also want to take this moment to go ahead and thank Rogue Energy. Rogue Energy helping all of us get through these crazy shows. Chris Best got his right there. Rogue Energy is a sugar-free energy drink that gives you a nice pop without having all that nasty stuff in it.
My amazing Olay apple juice.
Yes, the Olay apple juice is fantastic.
It's Canada's choice on Canada Day.
Yes, Canada Day. We'll talk about that later. Oh, that's the wrong promo code. That's the promo code I want. You go to rogueenergy.com or you scan this QR code right underneath me, right next to Chris. You can go ahead and use promo code OLEPODS to get 10% off your order. We didn't get to the 10 subs, so Parrish still has some syrup there.
I was so happy I took a sip out of that just to see what it tastes like, so I got the lid open. Oh, thank God, people. You care about me. I appreciate all of you.
Go ahead and go to go to rogueenergy.com and use the promo code OLEPODS to get 10% off your order and get your new favorite flavor. My favorite flavor, the watermelon. Chris Best, what about you? You've been trying out a few different flavors lately. What do you got?
Right now it's the bubble gum, but I have the watermelon one on in my cart, ready to be ordered on the 5th when I get some more money, alongside the Rocket Pop one.
There you go. I know Parrish likes the Rocket Pop, but lately he's been doing the what's the new flavor? The strawberry kiwi or something it was?
Well, I mean, I do have strawberry kiwi. That's also a great one as well. But strawberry mango, strawberry mango, I believe, is their new one right now. But I mean, they got a plethora. I mean, you can also get a pink lemonade. You can get a grape popsicle. Just a lot, like sour candy, blood orange. Like, how can you go wrong?
All right. If I remember correctly, the next match is the Women's Money in the Bank, correct?
Yes.
Okay. I wasn't sure if I skipped Cody Rhodes versus Dominic Mysterio in here yet or not. I don't think I did. So we have Zelina Vega versus Trish Stratus versus Bayley versus Becky Lynch versus Io Sky versus Zoe Stark for the Women's Money in the Bank ladder match. Parrish, I want to go ahead and get your thoughts on this match.
Yeah, I thought it was very interesting. With the 6 competitors, you had 2 sets of alliances. You had Trish Stratus with Zoe Stark, and then you had Io Sky with Bayley. So I even posed the question in the watch along: does Becky Lynch form an alliance with Zelina Vega? You almost felt that they had to at some points just to kind of keep the odds at bay. I thought really they were going to shock us. I legit thought near the end they were going to give us Zelina Vega, and I was okay. As I was seeing that picture become more clear, I was like, you know what? I don't hate this. But this was by far one of the most creative endings to a match. And I think they did the right thing by putting it on the right person here. You're muted, Ed.
Sorry about that. Chris Best, your thoughts.
Right back at you, buddy.
That finish with
5 minutes, Bobby.
That was just. See, I'm always, when I'm watching a ladder match or any kind of stip match, I'm always looking for a different style of finish, other than just climbing up, grabbing the belt, escaping the cage, whatever. And that's what I needed. Just seeing Becky and Bayley being handcuffed together, and Io Sky using Bayley as a stepping stone to get to the Money in the Bank contract. That was just brilliant. But the one concern I did have was that powerbomb spot that Zoe Stark took. Man, that scared the hell out of me watching her take that spot.
Yeah, that ladder did all kinds of funky things.
Like, when it looked like not going. Yeah, when it looked like her head almost got caught in the ladder, I cringed hard.
Seems like, based on the end of the match, it seems like she might be all right. She's definitely a little shaken up. Hopefully, she will be fine. So here's the thing I hated about this.
Yeah, did you see the look on?
Oh, go ahead.
Sorry, did you happen to see the look on her face afterwards when she was like, "Holy shit! I can't believe I survived that." You know?
Yeah, and that's the part where I'm like, it seems like she's okay, because she seemed to have that look of relief. Like, I got through it. I'm a little worse for wear, but at least she's walking, at least she's talking, and those were nice things to see. The part of this that I disliked the most is I felt like for small portions of this, especially the Becky Trish stuff, I always say I want a feud to kind of take precedent over the Money in the Bank ladder match. I've now seen it, and I've reversed that idea. I don't want it. I just want people to be focused on the Money in the Bank, because it really took away from the match the constant Becky Trish dynamic, especially when it was around the ladder. It wasn't around trying to get up the ladder. It wasn't anything like that. It seemed to get in the way for a small period of time there. However,
especially that spot where sorry, go ahead, finish, man.
No, you're right. I was just gonna say there was a couple spots where it happened to get. Oh, Chris, you go ahead, man. I'll wait and you can finish.
Especially the spot where they were shoving everybody aside and beating the piss out of one another, right?
Yeah. Yeah, it was one step too far with the feud taking precedent over the thing. It's like I wanted them to not get into a hockey fight and just kind of finish the match, do the thing. The manhandle slam onto the ladder with Trish, that was great. Having Zoe Stark laid on that ladder, that was great. There was so many good parts to it, but it seemed like every now and then it just took too much focus away from the match. But having Io Sky, like you guys said, literally climbing over Bayley as she's handcuffed and the girls can't do anything, and she sits herself down nice and comfortably to go ahead and get the briefcase. It's fantastic to see her with that briefcase. More importantly, 2 international shows with Io Sky on it, 2 international crowds that are in love with Io Sky. We had the Backlash crowd in Puerto Rico that loved her. This London crowd was all behind her in winning this match. Fantastic job.
Yeah, one thing I wanted to ask in regards to the a feud taking over, I think it would have been a lot better if you didn't have, say, 50% of that feud in the match.
Yeah.
Because when you look at it, you have 6 competitors, 3 of them are tied in the Zoe, Trish, and Becky. That's a lot. Now, you can either have 8 or 9 contestants in this match, and it wouldn't be that bad, but this is just too large of a sample size of your participants in that, to the point where it's like, okay, what else you got? And then you only have 3 people there, and 2 of those 3 are in another feud.
Yeah.
So I think that's something they just got to look at moving forward. Either, okay, maybe we do 8 next year, or maybe we just don't have these major feuds connecting. And if that's the case, let's not put everyone in this match.
Anybody else with any lasting thoughts on the women's Money in the Bank ladder match before we move on?
I mean, the match started off a little bit slow for me, but I'm glad we got to where it got to. I'm very satisfied with that finish.
Yeah.
I thought Zoe Stark had a really great performance. First Money in the Bank ladder match, first time in Money in the Bank on the PLE. I thought she did a great job. Not the easiest situation she was in when you're in the middle of that feud. I thought she did enough to stand out, and I thought she had a really excellent performance.
Yeah, no, I think Zoe Stark was absolutely my standout of this match. I think she earned so much credit and so much hard work in this match to help make Trish look good. And Trish looked great in this, but it was because of the help of Zoe and the help of the Phoenix Force, Jean Grey, Becky Lynch tonight. By the way, I just wanted to mention that before we got out of here. I'm almost certain that's a Marvel look, because I think that's the Jean Grey Phoenix Force attire that Becky Lynch was sporting tonight. But
it makes sense. Her husband does a lot of Marvel-themed gear ideas himself, so
he does indeed. But a match that didn't feature her husband was Dominic Mysterio versus Cody Rhodes. In the second match of, this didn't go how me and Parrish thought it might go.
Not at all. Very quick, very to the point. But Cody Rhodes doesn't have his arm in a sling anymore, so there's that. But it almost seemed like this card, it almost seemed like an out-of-place match, because what was the point of this? outside of if it was just a one-off. I mean, I understand there's Brock Lesnar waiting for Cody Rhodes, but I would have done something there tonight. I thought you missed the boat on something here. This match just didn't click for me.
Chris Best.
Yeah, to me, I'm with Parrish. It didn't click either. This was just a filler. Am I freezing up here? Okay. No, this was just a filler feud for me, and I wanted it to mean more, but it kind of didn't to me, to be honest with you.
I feel like it took away from the Dominic Mysterio greatness that he's been on. And it's hard to say that one of the best in the business made Dominic Mysterio feel less important. But in this match, Dominic Mysterio felt like a nothing. And that's a real shame. Because I think there was a way to really tell this story and have Dominic be brought up where it feels like Cody had to go down to Dominic's level. You know, not that Dominic is a level underneath him. But you know what I'm saying? Like, it just... This wasn't the greatness I thought it would be. Rhea was involved, but nothing really came of it because she never got her comeuppance. She never got kicked out of the match. And in the end, Dominic just loses.
I think one of the biggest things is Dominic Mysterio is not that performer when he's put in a situation where he has to fight for survival. That's not his forte. Cody has shown that is more his forte than people gave him credit for. He has that capability of turning it up. Dominic Mysterio has to get that mean streak in there. He has to have that. Even Triple H had it when he was the heavyweight champion, go up and against Mick Foley in all those matches. He had that ability to take his physicality to the next level, whether it was taking it or dishing it out. Dominic Mysterio, I think, has to do that now, or else he's going to get stale. He really is going to get stale.
Yeah, it was a bit of a shame. Anybody any last thoughts, Chris Best, on Dominic Mysterio versus Cody Rhodes?
I mean, the only thing I enjoyed about Dominic and Cody in this feud was how he played the chicken shit heel. I liked that. But as Parrish said, if he keeps that up, it's just going to get stale.
No. There needs to be another layer to his heeldom, and I think we're going to see that. Speaking of another layer, we got the next layer of Seth freaking Rollins versus Finn Balor for the WWE World Heavyweight Championship. And is it possible to say a disappointing match? Is it possible to say the words disappointing match and Seth Rollins versus Finn Balor in the same sentence?
I wouldn't say this was a disappointing match. I think it was just a matter of the finish they chose to do, I thought, took away from what the expectation of this match was. It is very, very much a high priority that they wanted to add a little bit of misunderstanding between Damian Priest and Finn Balor, with Damian Priest coming out with that Money in the Bank. But it also took the focus away from Seth Rollins and Finn Balor's backstory going into this match. So the simple fact that they had something that kind of washed that away for what this was, it gave me the look Seth Rollins had. He looked very confused. It almost like he was very unsure of how to think about Damian Priest. So I just thought maybe do that after the match, not during the match. But at the same time, I didn't think the match was bad. I just also thought the expectation was higher than maybe it should have been.
Chris Best, your thoughts?
Yeah, the match was entertaining to say the least, but I just wish that the finish was very underwhelming for me. I think I wanted maybe 4 or 5 more minutes out of them before we got Damian Priest coming out and doing his thing. It felt a little bit rushed to me. I'm not exactly certain though.
I have a question. Do you guys feel like the John Cena segment and the Bloodline Civil War needing to go as long as it did, do you think those two things hurt these two matches between Dominic Mysterio and Cody Rhodes and Seth and Finn? Do you think that these things got some time nipped off the ends to make everything kind of work?
I wouldn't say it was the time that took them out. I think it's the fact that the rest of the card got everybody all the way up here, and there has to be a match or two that the fans are just they have to recoup on. And I think maybe that's just the recovery time. And it's just unfortunate that it was those two matches. But I think if there was something more that stood out in the Seth Finn match, I think we're talking about it in a different tone. And I think I honestly do believe if Brock Lesnar came out and Dominic won, I think we're talking about that match in a completely different tone as well. I also don't know if this is the last time we're going to see Seth Rollins and Finn Balor.
Yeah. Chris, your thoughts on
that? For me, I think there might have been a slight bit of fatigue between all the surprises and everything that happened with the two Money in the Banks, Drew McIntyre returning, Shayna Baszler turning heel. But as Parrish had said, like I think if we had just that one more surprise with Dom pulling the victory maybe out of nowhere on Cody, that would have been nice to just keep my expectations up on the show.
Yeah, it just seemed to kind of the last little bit of the show going into the main event just seemed to kind of not hit the same rev rate that the rest of the show was hitting. And then, of course, we had the Bloodline Civil War. Roman Reigns and Solo Sikoa versus Jimmy and Jay, the Usos. Chris Best, I want you to go ahead and talk about this. Lead us off on this one.
So this match actually brought me back out of the fatigue that the previous two the Condom and Cody match did, and the finish to Rollins and Cody or Rollins and I'm drawing a blank on who he fought. Oh, Finn Balor. This match brought me out of the fatigue, and it brought me right back into it. I was once again emotionally involved in everything that was going on. I was kind of watching a lot of Solo in what he was doing, and he's really starting to come out into his own. Like, he understood that he was in the main event spot, so he had to pull out all the stops, as it were, to keep this match going.
You're muted again, Ed, but
Ed,
I'm pretty sure you said Parrish. But yeah, no, I thought these guys had a great match. I mean, the fact that you have just a few months ago, the entire Bloodline in one match now, and it's a completely different circumstance. It's a completely different emotion there. You're going to get that instant connective feeling from the fans because they were there for the ride the entire time. If you had a lot of people questioning why are you a WWE fan, and they're like, well, check out this Bloodline story, and now you're watching this match, yeah, it's a validation too, just from being a fan, that you're seeing something kind of ride the wave. You have to think that when this match was pegged as the main event, something important was going to happen. Roman Reigns in the main event always has something important in the story. And as we saw the first time he's pinned in 3 years. The Usos do what they always do when they're put in a position where they go big or go home. They go big all the time. Why? Because they're one of the best, if not the best tag teams ever to grace a professional wrestling ring. Roman Reigns is inching closer to that mode where you got to take his name and put it in respect all the time, because his last run has just been phenomenal, and you cannot replace it. And then Solo, it's just that act that, man, I did not know that the Bloodline needed an act like Solo Sikoa as badly as they did, because he's been nothing but integral in this whole storyline. And the tag team psychology, chemistry from Roman and Solo tonight was just off the charts. And when the Usos are challenged in that way, they're just going to become better. Case in point, watch their stuff with the New Day. This match was a masterpiece from bell to bell.
Yeah, Barry Monkey coming in saying the traditional ref dump. It wouldn't be a Roman match without it. No, and it wouldn't be. But here's the thing. the thing that makes the Roman Reigns ref dump different than everything else is the Roman Reigns bloodline feud could be broken down into a legitimate Hollywood movie. The way that they've been telling this through the matches, through the promos, through everything, it's so cinematic in story told. It's something we haven't seen from WWE or most other companies in a long time, that we've seen something at this height, at this level, this high on the card, involving so many championships, involving so much time, and bringing so much emotion to the party. We feel for all of these guys. We feel for Jey Uso when he's getting gaslit and manipulated. We feel for him in Hell in the Cell when he's getting whipped and beaten and just broken down to the point where Jimmy has to come in and cover over him and just be like, no, we can't do this. To the Sami Zayn of it all. To the point where Sami Zayn almost got himself involved in the WrestleMania main event by strictly being the funniest man on the planet and getting all of the emotion from everybody in the world. And you say, well, what does that all have to do with this? All of it the bloodline, there is no single match that is involved all on its own. Everything that happens in the bloodline takes precedent in every match that they do. And having this match where you bring back the stack 'em and pin 'em thing, where you have both the Usos pinned and Roman thinks he's won, and he takes the cocky pin on the stack 'em, and they both kick out. Yes, is it overbooked? Of course it is. But it's overbooked in the best way possible because it's a cinematic masterpiece. And Roman, while he takes 10 minutes to get to the ring, and while his matches take 25 to 30 minutes now, there's so much storytelling in it that I'm invested, that I'm watching every move and every second and every glance. Oh my God, Roman's laughing at Solo. Oh, Solo got him. Gotta watch out for that.
Ed, you and I were both fans of Shawn Michaels, and one of the reasons why was every little thing he seemed to do in that ring from a performance standpoint mattered. Whether it was the way that he sold, how he sold, the way he moved, where his positioning was, it was just done for a reason. Roman Reigns is that competitor as well. Yeah. It doesn't matter how long he takes. Everything he does, everything he says, every words he speaks, and every movement he creates is done for a reason. And you can almost pinpoint every little detail to why it has an importance in this storyline. And because of that, it's why we're saying this goes into a movie. It's why it's a cinematic masterpiece. It's why it's one of the best long-term stories in wrestling maybe ever. It just shows you just how good he is and how good everyone around him is becoming because of the standard he is setting.
And I want Chris Best to talk about this next part, but I want to bring up this comment so we can talk about it. And Chris, I want you to start. Paul Heyman is the background linchpin that's made it work throughout. Talk about the creativity on the creative side of Triple H, Vince McMahon, Roman Reigns, Paul Heyman, all working together to cultivate this story, and what you think of all of them in the parts they've played. Because we can't forget about Vince McMahon in this story.
Oh no, we can't leave Vince out. We can't leave any of them out, actually. But what I was going to say is, I liken this whole build to the video game, to video games in general. Basically, this whole thing is leading to that final boss fight, and the way they present Roman is being presented as that final boss, and it's I'm going to liken it to The Last of Us, okay? Last of Us is a very emotionally charged game that I play very faithfully, and it gets me every time, and that's what Roman does. Roman gets me every time, and it's like, I'm so happy that he's beaten, or I'm so happy that he's won, and that's the beauty. That's what Triple H, that's what Vince, that's what Paul Heyman all have built. Paul Heyman does his builds based off of reality, and that's what we got out of Paul managing them tonight, especially with that line with where he said, "Do you want your kids to be sitting at his table?" or something like that. He said to Roman, and it's just chef's kiss to the way they booked this whole storyline so far.
So we talk about Roman Reigns being the final boss. As we go ahead and round out this show and get ready to close it out, who is going to be the person who conquers the final boss? Is it Jimmy Uso? Is it Jey Uso? Is it Solo Sikoa? Or is it somebody else? We're going to go ahead and start with Chris Best.
Just from the little hints I've been seeing on SmackDown, I've got to say Solo, because the way he looks at Roman every week when Roman's standing there and holding that title, it's very reminiscent to when Batista did that to Hunter Hearst Helmsley going into WrestleMania 21, or even before that before the Royal Rumble that year. So I got to say Solo is going to be that guy.
Parrish, your thoughts?
If we're talking about who takes the title away from him, I still think it's probably Cody Rhodes. They've done a very great job of kind of keeping them apart since WrestleMania. But in order to who's going to dethrone him as tribal chief, it needs to be Jey Uso. It just has to. They've put too much stock in, he was the guy Roman was grooming and all this stuff for it not to be. That's just pretty much how the bloodline started, was Jey Uso versus Roman Reigns. And what a poetic way to finish it by having Jey Uso beat Roman Reigns.
We have the voice Joshua Joseph saying James Ellsworth. Thank you for your time. Your comment gets about as much thought as you put into. I'm just kidding. It's funny. I agree with I agree with both of you. I could see it being Solo Sikoa, because I could see Solo Sikoa being the next tribal chief and dethroning Roman and taking that championship, even if only for a brief moment. Just finally getting that moment to himself and being at the top. In my heart of hearts, I want it to be Jey, because like I said, you felt with Jey throughout this entire story. While Solo Sikoa's come recently, Jey's been there since day one-ish. That Jey's been there, the one who's getting manipulated, the one who got beaten down in Hell in the Cell. Everything revolved around Jey in the beginning. Right-hand man, the main event Jey Uso. Everything is revolved around. Even this thing, when Jimmy turned on Roman, great, Jimmy turned. It was the kick heard around the world. But it wasn't until Jey turned that everything changed and the whole story took its next step. Because it's always about Jey. And that's the only reason why I think that it needs to be Jey, just because of that. But I could totally be down with it being Solo Sikoa, because it makes perfect sense. They've done all the storytelling with what Chris said, the little looks. This week on SmackDown, where the Usos say that they're going to support their next tribal chief, and they look to Solo, and Roman belly laughs, thinking it's hysterical, and Solo catches him and just stares, and Roman stops. Hey, thank you for joining us. Leeds delivers. I believe this is Leeds Pete from the Dalton Hollywood Discord. Thank you for joining us. We greatly appreciate it. We have Barry Monkey also jumping in saying, I'm not sure who, but I'd love it to end in Samoa. U.S. military base there, so be in front of a crowd on one of the islands, technically on American soil, so there's no trouble there, and it's not too far from Australia and New Zealand. That could be fun. I mean, I don't think it's going to happen that way. I will be excited to see what happens. Though. It would be. And I also want to see, at some point, I want to see Afa again. I want to see Sika again. I want to see the tribal elders, the former tribal chiefs, getting involved in this storyline at some point in the near future. But, speaking of the near future, where can we find you, Mr. Chris Best, coming up in the near future?
All right, so on YouTube, you can find me at ChrisDamage83. My channel name is CBRS Entertainment there. As well as on Twitch TV, CBRS_entertainment. I'm still working on getting my video capture card situation sorted out. Actually, within the next few days, I plan to order a brand new one, one that Bobby Munson himself had suggested to me. So hopefully that's what's going to work, and that's where you'll find me, guys.
And what shows can we find you hosting, co-hosting throughout the week?
I'm co-host Turnbuckle Talk on Tuesdays at 8:05 alongside Carl Carafel. Sometimes Parrish joins in, and we get occasionally OMD coming in, and you can catch us, me and Parrish as well, 8 p.m. right here on OLE Podcasts for the Raw Watch Along as well.
Awesome. And Chris Parrish, where can the people find you?
You can find me in my basement where I'm recording this as we speak. If you're on the socials, please go to my Twitter at Chris Parrish, my Instagram, Chris.Parrish, my Twitch at the Chris Parrish, as I'm sure a lot of you just did, and I appreciate you also very much for that, for the watch along from Money in the Bank. I'm also on Kick, as you go to kick.com/Chris Parrish so far. I'm just there because it's a cool thing to do. But yeah, I'd love your support. I'm also going to be on Busting Out the 45th edition tomorrow here on our local establishment with my brunch butter. Brunch butter, whatever. It's Bobby Munson. He doesn't do buttons well. I source speeches sometimes. It's what we do. It's why we go off the rails. But yeah, we got a great episode tomorrow. And then, on the Raw watch along on Monday, I'll be there in full because I don't work. So it'll be nice fun. And then every Wednesday, Wrestle Draft. Yeah, Wrestle Draft every Wednesday. Except this Wednesday. But I mean, we're going to be finishing up season 1 pretty quick. So stay tuned for that as we got WrestleMania.
You can find me on the Twitter at edfries12584. You can find me on the Twitch at edfries2002. I co-host the NXT review show called Taking Over. I'm also going to be co-hosting a new show coming up in the near future called Talking Takeover, as me and Ashton Bizarro go through everything from Arrival all the way up to the last Takeover show, as we go ahead and get in depth with some of these great shows that brought the black and gold, that brought us to NXT 2.0, with made all these stars like Seth Rollins, like Pac, like Uncle Howdy. No, I'm just kidding. But there's all kinds of fun, fantastic stuff on there that you can see, that you'll be able to see the early days of some of these people in WWE developmental. We are going to be going, where I get to talk about people like Von Wagner. And before we leave, Leeds Delivers says, anyone see the Shayna Baszler coming? No, we did not see that. We did not see that turn coming. Me and Parrish both predicted a heel turn. No, not at all. Me and Parrish both predicted a heel turn. He predicted Raquel Rodrigues. I predicted Liv Morgan, and neither one of us were right. It was Shayna Baszler after all.
No, it was the other way around. I predicted.
Okay.
You predicted.
We both predicted wrong either way. For those of us on the Twitch side. For all of those us on the Twitch side, we are going to be going ahead and rating a fellow member of our local establishment. Lauren Goodnight happens to be streaming some Yoshi Crafted World. So we're going to go ahead and send her some love. So if you just give me a couple seconds, that raid will start. And those of you on the Twitch side will be brought over to Lauren Goodnight's stream. For those of you on the YouTube side, we're going to be leaving you in just a few moments. So thank you very much. I hope you guys enjoyed the show, and we'll be back on tomorrow for Busting Out. So go ahead and enjoy that. We'll see you next time. Goodbye.